We now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Will Kenneally, and Happy New Year. It's been a busy week at the state capitol so far. Lawmakers are starting to introduce legislation that they want to get passed before everyone leaves in the late spring to run for re-election. We'll actually see that tomorrow with Assembly Republicans providing us more details on a medical marijuana bill that could very well become law later this year. That's because Governor Tony Evers says that he's likely to sign that bill just as long as there are no poison pills included. Now, I mentioned that during an extensive one-on-one sit-down that we had. Here's more from that conversation. All right, well, thanks for sitting down with us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Will.
So busy year, obviously, state budget. For you, obviously, it's a little different. You don't get to pass laws, but you get to shape policy, certainly. Sure. Any big wins from this past year?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the budget. First of all, shared revenue was a huge win. It took a lot of effort on a lot of people's parts, and including my staff and myself. So that was a huge win. I think affordable housing was a significant win. We've been able to fund mental health in our schools at the highest level ever. And so I think there was, it was, not everything I wanted, obviously, but we were able to make some huge impact. And I'll use this as a small example, but affordable housing at $500,000, that's like never happened before in the state of Wisconsin. So I think it was a good budget. Obviously I wanted more for different things, but at the end of the day, we compromised in a way that I think people in Wisconsin are happy about.
So we've seen, especially during the pandemic, you trading barbs, especially with the legislature. How have been some of those relationships been?
Well, it is what it is. Politics of the day are much different than it was 8 years ago or 10 years ago. But, the fact that all these things that I just mentioned, plus many more that, kept the brewers in town, all those things took give and take on everybody's part, and frankly, I signed many more bills than I veto, and so is this a perfect world? No, it's not. But I think we made some good progress, and people in Wisconsin should be happy that there are several areas that we've reached common ground at, and we need to celebrate that.
One of those vetoes has been twice now, that tax cut that Republicans have floated.
Yeah.
They're trying to restart it again in the new year, gearing the tax cut more towards retirees. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you'd be on board with?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, the devil or the details are really important. It could be there's some kind of poison pill in there. But they know that my goal always is to provide tax relief to middle-class folks and hard-working folks. If that bill kind of works its way through, and I'm open to it. Let's put it that way. But it can't be. I don't believe that wealthier people in the state of Wisconsin need a tax break. If this is something that we can honestly call a middle-class tax cut, then I'd be very interested in it.
What would it take to get you on board?
Well, to tell me who's going to benefit from this. If it's retirees that have adequate resources in their lives as a retiree and have enormous wealth, that's a problem. I think it should be, if we're going to focus on retirees who spent their lives working hard and are maybe even struggling in retirement, then I'd be for it. So we'll see. I'm open to it.
I also heard that Republicans may be introducing a medical marijuana bill. Mm-hmm. Would you be supportive of that? I know it's been in your budgets recently.
Sure. Yes, I would. Again, if there's no poison pills, you never know. Do I think we need to consider recreational marijuana? Of course, I've been for it. So is the majority of the people in Wisconsin is for it. But if this is a step in the right direction, let's make it happen.
We've been talking a lot about impeachment with the state legislature. Obviously, that would target perhaps Megan Wolf, perhaps the new liberal Supreme Court justice. If that were to happen at this point, do you have a sense of, on your short list, who you would appoint to replace Justice Protasiewicz, for example?
Yeah, no, I'm not in that position because I think it's a ridiculous notion. when people decide that, take Megan Wolf, for example, they're accusing her of things that, frankly, the Wisconsin, the commission itself decided. It wasn't her. So these are all, frankly, ridiculous notions, and so I don't worry about replacing somebody because I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it's ridiculous. The people of Wisconsin voted Supreme Court justice in, and they will make those decisions if they feel that she hasn't done her job. She just got on the job. So I think the impeachment stuff is baloney.
We just saw the Board of Regents approve a funding deal, trading off some much-needed funding for the DEI positions. How do you feel after that deal?
I thought it was a rotten deal. The Board of Regents were bargaining on things that had already been decided in the budget. We had a budget that said, whatever, 4% increase in wages, including the UW system. That was already decided. I signed that into law. In addition, they had things in their budget that talked about getting rid of DEI. I vetoed that language. And they couldn't override that veto. So to decide that things that had already been determined, the Board of Regents should not have been, shouldn't have to have been bargaining on something that were part of law. And so I think they got taken to the cleaners on that one. That was should never have happened.
So I know obviously they're put in a tough position, but they're paid to make those hard decisions.
That's right.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Do you have confidence, especially in President Rothman negotiating that deal and the Regents ultimately supporting that, knowing that some of them are your appointees? Do you have confidence?
Sure. Well, my appointees, I don't mess with their decision making. In fact, I maybe talked to two of them before they made the decisions to approve that. I never told the person how to vote. I was on the Board of Regents and I saw how that worked on the other side, and I wasn't going to continue doing that. So I appointed really smart people. They can make those decisions. But and Jay is hired by them, and I think Jay is a good human being, and he'll continue in that position. So I just think it was dumb. It was not good policy for them to negotiate on something that had already been decided. They let Robin Voss run roughshod over them, and they shouldn't have done that.
So just quickly, obviously you're a little bit more into your first year of your next term here. Three-term Tony, are we looking at that?
Three-term Tony. I made no decisions. I hope you're getting the notion that I felt this last budget went as well as it could have under the circumstances, and so things are going well. The state of Wisconsin is in the best financial shape they've ever been in. But it's way too early for me to make that decision. But I feel good about where we're at as a state.
And then briefly again, what do you think will be the biggest political headline of 2024?
Of 2024, clearly it'll be around which did the president win Wisconsin? Win in Wisconsin is a new, whether it's going to be Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Clearly, I think that it should be Joe Biden. I think he's quite an extraordinary human being. But that's what it's going to be all about, is what's going to happen at the national level. It is already a conversation piece. I think Wisconsin is going to be supportive of the present president.
When we come back, we'll hear from the Assembly Speaker on some of his priorities for the new year. And later, we'll talk to a Wisconsin congressman about his recent trip to the southern border. We'll be right back after this.